Hi, I'm Daniel Duhart. This show identifies, reveals, and decodes the sometimes secret financial strategies used by the wealthy. We're going to help you decode those strategies so that you understand how to leverage them both personally and professionally. Welcome to Decoding. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Daniel Duhart. About this series of shows on decoding wealth. I've been an insurance and financial professional for a number of years, and so I'm really excited about bringing education and insight around various topics and financial strategies that I think will be beneficial for you. On today's show, I'm really excited about the special guest that I have, which I will be introducing later, so stay tuned. This guest has a wealth of knowledge in this industry, and I think you all will really appreciate the information that he has to provide. With that being said, let's get started. The first topic that we will be decoding is build your own bank. So first off, what is it? All right. Build your own bank is a cash value life insurance policy. Yes, cash value life insurance. So I know some of you may be wondering, what does a cash value life insurance policy have to do with build your own bank? So no, I'm not referring to you actually or physically owning your own branch location, more so you leveraging your assets and borrowing from yourself as if you are a bank. So now you have control of your dollars and you're able to capitalize and take advantage of compounding interest. So we're going to really decode this strategy. First off, who is this strategy for? Oftentimes I get this question. The simple answer is it's not just for a certain type of client. The truth of the matter is you can custom and tailor this solution to fit the needs of your financial portfolio. I think oftentimes when you hear a strategy or title like build your own bank, we automatically assume that it's only for just wealthy individuals or maybe a business owner or someone of that caliber. But again, that's not always true. With accessing or borrowing money from these policies, there's a number of different ways that you can utilize the policy. Some of the common ways that people use this policy is for things like purchasing a vehicle, purchasing a home, business expenses, real estate. We'll really dig into those different ways that people utilize the policy, and you'll really see how flexible the strategy really is. I want to start with three key components of this policy. The first component that I want to touch on is cash value growth with no risk of loss. So when I say cash value growth, cash value life insurance policies have historically done really well in terms of the growth of the policy, and even to create a lot of nuances and advancements in the policies to where they even have indexes have a impact, on the overall growth. But when I'm referring no risk of loss, even though these policies are mirroring a index or a market, they're not directly tied into the market, and so you don't have to worry about losing money once you are investing in this overall policy. So for example, let's just say year 5 in the policy, you have $100,000 of cash value in this policy. At that, each year as you start to get those gains, you reset your floor. So even if the market in year 5 is not performing well, worst case, 0 is your hero. You may not have a lot of gains, but you don't have to worry about taking any losses or having any losses in that policy. And that is a sense of satisfaction to a lot of people that utilize this. The second component are the tax benefits. So looking at growth or distributions for this policy, it's immune to income tax. So as you're pulling this money out as a policy loan or even as a simple withdrawal, you're not taxed on the money when you pull the funds out. And so as opposed to maybe like a 401k or some of your other traditional retirement accounts, you would be subject to a tax penalty if you were to pull out those funds prior to a certain age. And those limitations do not exist with the build your own bank strategy. And so again, that's another key component and one of the advantages to this overall policy. The third component that I want to speak on is the death benefit. So when you're about the cash value life insurance, the foundation of this policy is having a death benefit, simply put. And so whether you're utilizing this policy on an individual basis or from a business structure, it's good to understand how the death benefit component works. So for example, if I'm someone on an individual basis and I'm investing, let's just say if I have $1 million cash value life insurance policy within this strategy, I'm investing, say, $1,000 a month for round numbers. After I pay that premium contractually, if anything were to happen to me while I'm investing into this policy, there is a death benefit that is left behind to the beneficiary of my choice. On the other side of that, when we're looking at it professionally as a business owner, whether you're purchasing this policy on yourself as a business owner, of course, quite naturally, if anything were to happen to you as a business owner, your business would take a hit. But by having this policy and leaving your business as the beneficiary, what it does is it leaves something behind so that your company can stay afloat during your absence. On the other side of that, when you're looking at a business owner that's purchasing this policy, a key executive, say a CFO, a manager, or anybody key executive within the company situation, if anything were to happen to that key executive, that business could take a hit. So now with the business being a beneficiary, what that does is it allows the business owner to have funds to go towards recruiting new talent or doing whatever they need to do to make sure that that business stays afloat if anything were to happen to that key executive. So those are some of the three components of this overall strategy or policy. Now, oftentimes too, people want to know, how can I leverage this policy? There's a number of ways that you can do so, but I'll speak to 2 or 3 different ways that people have leveraged the build your own bank strategy within their portfolio. One of the ways that you can leverage this policy is buying cash flow assets. So for example, one cash flow asset, real estate. So simply put, let's just say if there is $100,000 of cash value within this policy, you could take a portion of the cash value in that policy to make a down payment on a real estate property. In return, that real estate property is going to pay you a monthly income. You can take a portion of that monthly income to pay the loan back and replenish your policy, and now you're taking advantage of compound interest. Brilliant strategy. Another way is lending money to your business. So if you're a business owner, say if there's expense that your business may need, one of the things that you can do is lend that money to your business, have your business pay the money back to the loan to replenish that. And again, now you're taking advantage of compound interest and overall recapturing the loan that was originally linked to your business. Lastly, one of the other examples, when you're looking at purchasing big ticket items, things that I alluded to earlier, whether it be a vehicle, a home, college tuition, I think for those that truly understand the build your own bank concept, once you know how to leverage that concept, it really does you reconsider whether that's financing certain things or even paying for them cash. Because if you have the ability to borrow from yourself, it does provide a lot of advantage for you as the overall owner of this strategy or policy. Now, one of the things that I will say, and that I always want to make sure that I, educate or speak to, is making sure that you're disciplined when using this strategy. There's a lot of benefit, there's a lot of flexibility with this policy, but it can be misused. And so, what I mean by that is, when you're borrowing money from this policy, you want to be disciplined in how you're paying the money back. Just as if you were borrowing this money from a financial institution, there's, a loan agreement or interest rate in which you would have to pay that loan back. So I challenge clients to do the same thing when borrowing from themselves. That way, by discipline, you can truly take advantage of all of the benefits that this policy has to offer. When we're looking at the two ways that you can borrow money from this policy, the first way is through a policy loan, which is recommended. And again, that's speaking to some of the examples that I've already discussed. So a policy loan, for a simple example, again, $100,000 in the policy, you borrow $50,000 from that policy to pay for something, and then you pay yourself back over a loan agreement or at an interest rate that you choose as the owner. The second option is just a simple withdrawal. Now from a withdrawal basis, that is you taking money out of the policy with no intent to pay it back. Now, in either situation, you're not taxed on that once you pull the money out of the policy, but keep in mind, if you're doing a withdrawal, understand that you are depleting the overall cash value in the policy, and then also depleting that overall death benefit. So whether it's a policy loan or a withdrawal, you do have access to both, but you want to understand what that means or what that does to the policy in both situations. Now, at this time, what I want to do is I want to bring on my special guest that I spoke to earlier in the show. Our special guest has 20 plus years of experience, and I think he can add a lot of value and information to this topic as we decode the build your own bank strategy. So again, without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Kevin Webb, the CEO of Genesis Asset Management Strategies Group. Kevin, how are you?
Fantastic, Daniel. Thank you for allowing me to be with you.
Awesome. Well, we definitely appreciate your time. I know that you are a subject matter expert in this lane, so I'm pretty sure the audience will appreciate the information that you have to provide. Before we go into it, if you don't mind, I'd love for you to just give us a little bit of introduction and a background about yourself.
Absolutely. I'm originally from Mainz, Germany. I actually came to America when I was about 6 years old, and I didn't even speak English at that time. So I actually had to repeat kindergarten. I also discovered really quickly that footballs in America were brown and not white and black, and you didn't kick them, you ran with them. So I came to America when I was 6 years old. I was originally born in Mainz, Germany. I actually went to school for finance. I majored in finance, and this is really all I've ever done. I have two small children, a 5 and a 10-year-old. Also recently got engaged. So just a little bit about me personally, but from a money management perspective, this is all I've ever done. I started my career at Fidelity Investments, doing a large 401k institutional asset management side of things. And then I moved on to Invesco here in Atlanta on Peachtree. And in my last corporate role, I was the director of public sector retirement plans for the state of Georgia and Tennessee at Nationwide. And in 2013, I decided to divorce corporate America and go independent and become an independent broker now, offering over 100 financial services and insurance companies.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure everyone can see why I wanted to have you on the show. It's a lot of, you have a lot of expertise in this overall business. And so today, Kevin, we are decoding the build your own bank strategy, which is a strategy that I know you are familiar with. One of the things, the first question I have for you, why do you recommend this strategy for your clients?
It's a couple things. First and foremost, it's all about generational wealth and leaving a legacy. So So I firmly believe in leaving something behind and leaving this world better than you found it. I actually, unfortunately, lost my father. He died in a motorcycle accident at 33 years old. So I experienced firsthand the impact of losing a breadwinner in the family and the impact and the devastation that it can have on the family. So I made it my mission to make sure that this doesn't happen to any other family that I come in contact with and touch, and just kind of spread the word of the importance of leaving behind something to your heirs. So it all starts for me with generational wealth. So when you put a permanent life insurance policy in place, two things are certain in this world as death and taxes. So when you put a permanent cash value life insurance policy in place, at some point you're going to check out of here. So whether that's tomorrow at 80 or 90 or 120, you're going to leave something behind to your heirs. So I believe if each one of us leaves something behind to our heirs, that can impact our communities in a major, major way.
Awesome, awesome. Well, and then too, as with this policy, there's so many different benefits. It's very, very flexible, and with this overall strategy, I know you've helped a ton of clients with that. So what are some of the ways that your clients have leveraged this strategy of build your own bank?
Absolutely. So in addition to the generational wealth, it's all about providing tax-free access to cash, not only now, but also in the future as well. So one of the ways that I've had clients use it, recently had a client who wants to leverage his investments. So what he did is he built up, several hundred thousands of dollars in his cash value life insurance policy. And then he had an investment opportunity that presented itself to give him about a 30% return. So he locked in a 16% return on his cash value policy, and he borrowed from it,
Wow.
and he took that money and he invested it elsewhere. So the money's making 33% over there, and he locked in a 16% gain over here. So some of our clients use it to leverage in other have access to cash to leverage in other investment opportunities. So that's one of the ways. I had another client who was a CFO of a Fortune 500 company. For him, it was all about generational wealth. So he wanted to make sure that he left funds behind to his wife and his kids. So we put policies in place that were designed to make sure that when he leaves here, his family will have millions of dollars. So that really changes the landscape and the impact of all his heirs to come. I had another opportunity where a client he was in the real estate. So what he wanted to do is he wanted to utilize funds in his policy to purchase some real estate. So the idea was that he was going to purchase some condo units, 30 units for about $3 million. So what he did is he borrowed the money from his policy, he sold the property, made about 1.25 million, and then put the money back into his policy. So those are just a few of the ways that you can utilize it. I have parents who utilize it to fund their kids' college, to purchase a primary residence, start a business, maintain a business. So there's just a number of ways that you can utilize it. One of the ways that is most intriguing to me is the build your own bank strategy, which enables you to use compound interest in your favor instead of against you. So most of us are familiar with borrowing money from the bank, in which when you borrow money from a bank, you pay that money back with interest. So instead of having compound interest work against you, what you can do is you can have compound interest work for you. So for example, let's say you wanted to buy a Porsche, and let's say that Porsche is $100,000. Well, we all know by the time you finance that Porsche over 5 years, how much have you actually paid for that $100,000 car? All right, probably in the neighborhood of $135,000, $140,000. All right, depending on your interest rate. So what you can do when you have one of these policies is you can say, thanks, no thanks. I'll just borrow the money from myself. So now you go and borrow that $100,000 from your policy, and you pay it back to yourself at the same rate that you would have paid back the bank. And now you have compound interest working for you instead of against you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, man, I definitely appreciate you sharing that. I don't, if that's not leveraging, I don't know what is, man. Those are some great examples of, different things that your clients have done over the years. And, as you said, there's so many different ways that you can leverage this policy. So I appreciate you sharing that. Lastly, Kevin, one of the things that I wanted to speak to, I know that personally you utilize this strategy. What benefits do you see as a business owner or even personally that this strategy offers for you?
Well, it's a multitude of reasons. So one, I came from corporate America. So I always had the mindset of being an entrepreneur. So what I did is I saved up a bunch of money in my 401k. And what I didn't think about was when I left that, I had planned to use some of that money, for to start my business if I needed it. But what I didn't realize is that when I used that money, I was going to be taxed at over half of it. So when I utilized those funds, I took a pretty big tax hit. And because I wasn't 59 and a half, I also had to pay a 10% penalty. So what I wanted to do was look for ways that I could, fund my vision, fund my dreams, and fund retirement without having to have a huge tax burden when it came time to utilize those funds. So in a Roth IRA, that's a great way to do it, but there's limits around how much you can do in a Roth IRA. And I don't plan on working until I'm 60 years old. So I don't want to wait until I'm 60 years old to be able to access my funds. So what I decided to do was invest in cash value life insurance. So what it allows me to do is access tax-free cash when I need it during my working years. If the business were lean and I needed cash, if I wanted to invest in an opportunity that may have presented itself, if I want to fund my kids' college, if I want to pay for a Sweet 16, if I want to pay for a down payment on a home for my kids, if I want to invest in real estate, if I needed access to cash, I have access to the cash without being taxed on it. But the other part of it is I believe the taxes are going to be higher in the future. So when you just look at the present state of the economy, if you look at this, I think it's $23 trillion budget deficit that we have right now. If we look at a broken social security system in which 10 people are taken out for every one person putting into it, the numbers themselves may explain the story themselves. When you look at Medicare and Medicaid and the number of people that are on it and growing, and there's the lack of funding for these things. So when you look at that, and then you look at the tax legislations that are set to expire in 2026 and the proposed tax changes that they have now, all things point to the fact that taxes will be higher in the future. So one of the reasons why I utilize this strategy is because it allows me to access money tax-free in retirement. So what it'll allow me to do is control my tax situation both now and in the future by having access to tax-free cash that I can utilize when I need it. So one of the biggest things for me is that access to tax-free cash. The other part of it, again, just kind of speaking back, going to generational wealth. So for me, it's all about legacy. So I have 2 young children that I want to make sure that when I leave here, that they're in a better position than when I came. So I want to make sure I leave assets behind for my kids to create generational wealth. And then I'm creating a money blueprint. When I die, my children will inherit millions of dollars. So that puts them in a better position and gives them opportunities to do whatever it is they so desire to do in life. But it also sets a blueprint, a money blueprint and a precedent. So when I teach my kids about money, and when they inherit these policies and they already understand that I have these policies not only on myself, but on them as well. So now that they'll do that for their children. So generational wealth and legacy is a big part of it for me. And the other part of it is just using compound interest in my favor. So I don't believe in using credit. It's just not my thing. So what I prefer to do is build a cash up and borrow the money from myself and have compound interest work in my favor versus against me. I also have 3 of these policies on each one of my 2 children. And the reason why I have it on them, again, is generational wealth and legacy. So if they decide, they need the money for college, the money will be there for their college. If I want to fund a down payment on their house, I can utilize those policies to fund a down payment on their house. But what I know for certain by putting these policies on my children while they're very young is that my grandkids will be millionaires. So again, the biggest thing for me is legacy, generational wealth, building my own bank, having compound interest working in my favor, and then also building a source of tax-free retirement income.
Awesome, awesome. And I really appreciate you sharing that, because not only were you able to speak to some of the things that you've helped clients do, but just really hearing what it means to you, in terms of just leaving that legacy, generational wealth. All of those things are very important because we know the living benefits of this policy, the cash value and everything. But again, that generational wealth piece is huge. And I think also too, with this strategy, I appreciate you sharing those different examples so that everybody can get a full understanding of the capabilities, even with utilizing this strategy on your children, yourself, your business. It's so many different ways to leverage this. And I think this information, it was digestible for everyone. So I really appreciate you sharing that. This was very insightful, man, very informative. I know you are a busy man, so I appreciate you taking out the time. Hopefully, as we decode some of these other financial strategies, maybe back on and join us for one of our later topics.
You can definitely count me in on that, Daniel. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today. I thank you for the opportunity. Any way that I can help, just let me know I'm here.
Awesome, man. Thank you for your time today, Kevin.
Thank you.
Got it. Well, everyone, as you can see, Kevin gave us a lot of great information for you to just take and think on, and it was really great to hear him just talk about, again, the things that his clients have done in him personally. So it was a great way to just kind of add on to the overall build your own bank strategy that we discussed today. So again, we decoded build your own bank. If you have any questions about this, please drop them in the comment section or send them to the email address that's at the bottom of the screen. I will leave you with a quote that I'm sure you're all familiar with, which is knowledge is power. I don't believe that to be 100% true. I feel like knowledge is potential power. Um, Applied knowledge is true power. So keep that in mind as we decode these different financial strategies. It's all about what you do with the information that you have. That's all we have for today. Make sure you stay tuned for the upcoming financial strategies that we will be decoding. Again, thank you for your time. We'll see you soon.
I remember growing up, we got in the culture of reading very young, so it kind of just stuck.
Even though I'm a techie guy and I like new technology, there's something about, I guess, history and knowing about your past and where you come from.
I remember going to the library. My mom would take me. I would get stacks of books.
I love when the author tells that story. No one can tell the story like you.
Said I'm free, y'all.